Paris. City of love, romance and dreams. So they say. I used to say it too. But ever since that day, the day of the murder, I've always associated my beloved Paris with death. I was at home having a bath when my editor called.
Collard, get your ass over to the Palais Royal now. You got an interview. With Pierre Carchon. Yes, the Pierre Carchon. No photos, so leave your gear at home. He asked for you personally. Don't ask me why. Anyhow, this could be big, so if he makes a pass, don't forget. Just smile, say yes, and keep taking notes.
So charming and so very apt. Pierre Carchon was a media king, a national hero, and one of the most infamous adulterers in Europe. He and his wife Imelda were just one step down from royalty. Whoa, I hate mimes, but unless you humor them, they don't go away. Here I was, the palace of the Media King and the Ice Queen. I pressed the doorbell and set in motion a chain of events which would change my life forever.
Yes? What is it?
Madame, my name is Nico Collard. I'm here to see Monsieur Carchon.
Come up, we're on the first floor.
Madame Carchon, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, I'm sure.
The Ice Queen was certainly living up to her reputation. Will you be staying for the interview?
Mademoiselle, I know little of my husband's business affairs, and I care even less. I certainly have no intention of watching him pore over yet another pretty little journalist.
Pretty? You're too kind, madame.
The talented and very beautiful Mademoiselle Collard. Such a pleasure to meet you at last.
Monsieur Carchon, I am honored.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Call me Pierre, please. But I do not flatter you idly. I was a friend of your father. He was a great man.
My father, he never mentioned.
He and I were very close. And then his death. So tragic. I must... Imelda, your damned cat's in my study again. Another Ming vase, I suppose. Excuse me for one moment, my dear girl.
You journalists are getting younger each year.
Perhaps it's the rest of the world getting older, madame. That was no cat.
My God, what? Monsieur Carchon!
He's dead. I must call the police. You'd better stay here.
There was a man. It was the mime. Do you think he...
Well, I believe we can rule out suicide, don't you?
No wonder they called her the Ice Queen. She would have been top of my list of suspects if I hadn't seen the attacker myself. And if I hadn't come across a couple of murders just like this already. One of the most important men in Europe murdered And here was I, Nico Coulard, alone at the scene of the crime. Should I wait for the cops? Or start my own investigation? It was a no-brainer.
Hello, welcome to my new Let's Play. I was a little different from before, but I was playing this and said, this might be a good Let's Play for me. It's actually, I played already games like this before, but this is the first time I did play a little bit before. So, it's good to be back now. Don't worry, I was not go away, but I'm not like a Let's Play, so I'll play every game so I can get know. I do it for my hobby. I do it because I like this. So I play a game. If I like it, I say, it's a good game to let's play. I let's play it. I'm just let's play because I need to let's play like that. Alright, that's all this. Move the mouse pointer around the screen to discover areas of interest, which will indicate by an animating blue circle. When the pointer passes over an object with which you can't interact, it will change to an animating icon reflecting the available action. Press the left mouse button to perform that action. Click on the briefcase icon to open your inventory and display the objects that you are carrying. Okay. Diary icon to access diary, right? Question mark to get puzzle hints and interface helps. Okay. Spanner icon to save and restore the game and adjust settings. Okay, these icons can be found in the lower section of the screen. Okay, but thanks. Thank you very much. What's this? Does that? Okay, back. You have this, and this is the diary then? Yes, alright. These are the hints. Alright. Characters. Inventory, controls, alright, that's all I know, I don't need help. Alright, first thing I need to investigate everything. First thing you need in this game
A bust of Pierre Cauchon, humble servant of La France. A bust of Pierre Cauchon.
Oh my god. First thing I wanted to say is, she comes inside here, like she sees the man, she starts saying, yeah, you're the killer. No, she just, she goes to the man and then gets knocked out. No wonder. Not she's so clever.
The bookcase was filled with obscure first editions. It contained rows of titles I didn't recognize.
Wow, nice.
Pierre Cauchon again. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room.
Yeah, that's nice.
A bust of Pierre Cauchon.
Just the same. Alright, this one, remove. The first part I played a little bit.
A small round piece of glass had been cut out of the pane. This was a professional job.
So I already know a little bit what to do.
I didn't want to cut myself and leave blood on the glass. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to keep my DNA to myself.
Let's go see outside. Where the hell is the
The killer
here?
must have used a ladder to reach the window. He was long gone. Guess he folded that ladder up, popped it in his pocket and took it with him.
Probably. But where was the cover? It's a terrace, but there's no cover on the terrace. I saw that already. Did I see everything? Now I need to look at the body. What I also like is...
Mimes and guns don't usually go together, but I had an idea that this was no ordinary mime. I'd come across this murderer before and written about him. The costume killer. At least that's what I'd called him.
I was gonna say is... I forgot what I was gonna say. I will mind later.
It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It must have fallen when I was knocked down.
Something else to see. Alright.
I closed his eyes. It was the least I could do for the poor fellow.
You can also
I opened his eyes.
open them again.
Best to...
Yep, best to leave the crime scene.
Some people hate searching corpses for clues. Me, I'm okay with it. Reminds me of an old boyfriend. In his pocket, I found a ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. Taking the ticket meant I tampered with the evidence. There was no going back now. Cauchon had been shot. Cauchon had been shot.
That's all you're gonna say? Alright. Right. I think I have everything here. I already played this a little bit. So the first part I already know what to do.
The police could turn up at any minute. Somewhere there were clues to the murder, and I needed to find them.
First check this door.
The door was locked.
She does say funny things. Yeah, whatever. Like that, if you put that pen.
It was going to take more than a hair clip to open the door. I needed the key.
Then if you No, nothing. This is nothing. Let's see what
A medieval pageant. Original, no doubt. The tapestry must have cost a fortune.
this is. Probably.
A Louis XIV table with an antique cloth. Imelda had taste. But hey, with a husband that rich, taste is easy.
That's true. Alright. If there's like a search thing, you can search, and this is.
I reckoned that cloth might just turn out to be useful.
And you see a little hole here?
Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
No, but we have something else that will fit. Alright.
Aha!
Goes
Nico, you are just so damn good at this stuff.
there. And take it.
Instead of comforting Imelda, I was ransacking her flat. Why? Because there was something going on here, and I had to get answers before the cops arrived. And hey, she'd been rude to me, so she had it coming.
So true, so true. Old woman. She is the ice cream after all.
Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. It was a tube of acrylic paint. French ultramarine. Just the colour I was after for my bathroom. I'm sorry, I have to go. Someone is... Young lady, what are you
this is
doing?
what I like, the
Oh, this
faces.
paint.
That's-
It's my favorite color.
For God's sake, keep the damn stuff.
That's what I like. That's what I'm gonna say. I like it that the dog, that the, like the little things there. Don't need to go yet. Do I need to call someone? I don't need to call someone either.
There was no one I needed to phone. Not until I had solved this case.
Touch everything. That's the thing you have to do in games like this. And talk with her now.
Excuse me, madame.
Yes?
You can do things. You can give things too, but I don't think you need to give anything to her.
The last thing she needed to talk about was paint.
Indeed. it was-
Imelda might not have been so cool with me poking around if I'd shown her the key I'd found.
Indeed.
You're upset, madame. Please take this.
That is the lace cloth from the table. What can you be thinking?
Nothing.
So, her husband took secret boat trips. Did she really need to see the ticket?
There's some.
Would you like to see my favorite hair clip?
What a ridiculous question. Of course not.
Huh. Another time, I guess.
All those funny conversations. Alright, not that. Alright. This.
Why would a mime want to kill your husband?
Pierre had plenty of enemies. Half the husbands in Paris for a start.
He was a ladies' man, huh?
How did your husband know my father?
I have no idea.
You didn't know him? Thierry Collard?
Pierre knew a lot of people I didn't know, most of them women.
My God.
I am so sorry for your loss, madame.
No, you're not. You're a journalist. Journalists don't feel sorry.
Not true.
We shall see.
She really is a ice queen.
Why did your husband send for me? What did he want to discuss?
I have no idea. His business was his business.
He never told you anything.
No, and frankly, I preferred it that way. This is quite a scoop for you. I suppose you're already inventing the headlines.
Just because I am a journalist.
Don't patronise me. You're all cut from the same cloth. Do you have any moral sense at all?
Yeah, you can choose. You can be bad or you. I'm going to
Yes.
be a good girl.
That's why I do this job.
You do it to see your name in print.
As if. My editor gets the byline, I just do the work.
Well, don't expect my sympathy.
The police will be here soon, madame. Is there anybody you would like me to contact? Family, friends?
No, I have no family. Pierre and I were... He was all I had, really. Not much, was it? The dutiful wife. That was my role. He never talked, never let me in.
I know one thing, madame.
What?
If you want to find out who killed your husband, then you let me do the job, not the police.
Why? How do I know I can trust you?
And there's a choice again. I always go for
Your
the fun.
husband invited me here today because he needed me. I think he knew somebody wanted to kill him, and he knew I could help.
I doubt it was your database he was after.
You're wrong. I was onto his killers already. I am sure of it. Please, you owe it to him.
I don't know.
All I need is a few more minutes to look around before the police come.
You really do have a moral sense, don't you? I trust so few people. And perhaps Pierre really did think that you could help. Of course it wouldn't have stopped him seducing you too. Here, take this. It's the key to the drawing room next to the library at the end of the hall. It was Pierre's room. I rarely went in there. I couldn't. I was too scared of what I might find.
Thank you. I promise you won't regret this.
What you might find, probably all dirty laundry, stuff like that. Always take the key first and then press it. So that's not gonna work. Like that.
Now we were getting somewhere.
Yeah, I thought we were already somewhere. What is this? Like I said, watch everything first.
The painting showed the Cachons together, in love. As the poet said, the past is a different country. Or did I read that in a fortune cookie?
You read that in a fortune cookie.
The painting was attached firmly to the wall.
Yeah, but there's a button right here.
There was the very faintest of clicks.
The very faintest of clicks.
Behind the picture was a safe.
Wow, it's a safe. Anyway, yeah, the only thing you need for this safe is a key. You don't. There's a cipher thing there, but you only need one key. That's all you need. Bang, safe is open. Why the cipher thing is there? I don't know.
In the safe was some kind of artifact. There were strange symbols on its surface. It looked like the printer's blocks I'd made at art school. If there was one thing I'd learned about symbols, they are always important. But these symbols scratched into stone were impossible to read. I needed to find a way of printing them. At least the stone was round. But what could I use for ink? And what could I print on? Sure, I was stealing, but I knew Imelda didn't know about the artifact, and Cachon was past caring.
And if you're normal ready, what we're gonna use as prints?
This wasn't the time for me to lie on the sofa doing my Marie Antoinette impression, though it is very popular at parties, especially with gay guys. Don't ask me why.
Is that a thing for something else? Because I don't know that. If you guys know that, you should tell me.
Locked. Not surprising, really.
Let me see what she says to all these things. She doesn't know anything. Next one. No. What about the cloth? Use the cloth. Or not. This key? Not saying anything. This one? Alright. What about this one? Break it open. No, use the key then.
It didn't work, but I guess it would have been surprising if it had.
It would have been easy if it was. Anyway, just go to the table.
As expected, the desk was yet another priceless antique. Yawn. The blotter and in tray had clearly been placed with mathematical precision.
Instead of saying yawn, you could have said like that, huh? What is this?
I didn't want to take the tray, but I knew that I could use it. I didn't need a sheet of blotting paper. Not while it was blank.
Unless you know now. You can always
My
know
heart
what's
skipped a
little bit
beat.
to
It was a carved elephant. But not just any carved elephant. It had been made by my father. I knew for certain because in my apartment I had its exact twin, carved into a box he had made. So Cachon had known my father. They really must have been friends. I decided to take the carved elephant. It clearly meant nothing to Imelda.
Alright, so now what do we do now? We just take the paint, put it in here. I know now what to do because I already did that before now.
I'd spread blue paint over the bottom of the tray. It was ruined. I was a very bad girl, but also quite a clever one.
Bad girl. What the hell? Alright, then use this one on that.
I rolled the artifact in the paint until it was completely coated.
And she's just put the painted roller in her pocket. What the hell? Isn't that pocket gonna be blue now? I do this now.
Genius! The roller and the paint worked just as I planned. But what did it say?
I will write it down what it says. Wait. Open
It
that.
was some kind of coded message. It read, subjudice. I may not have learned a lot as a journalist,
Subjudice.
but that was a term I knew well. It means a legal case that is before the courts.
Like,
Below it was a sequence of
S.
letters that made no sense.
D, S. Well,
I suddenly realized there was a connection between the boat ticket and the coded message. The boat ticket was stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. The conciergerie on the Ile de la Cité by the river housed the ancient law courts. So, subjudice could in this case mean literally under the law courts, below the conciergerie. I was pretty sure I'd found all I could here. And besides, all this opulence was making me pine for my regular life of poverty. This was a huge story. It was also one heck of a puzzle with a lot of pieces missing. But I was going to crack it. And if I could just remember the name of that fancy prize you get for being an ace journalist, I was definitely going to win it this time.
Alright. Let me see what that was. Thank you.
Rolling out the painted cylinder had given me a print of a secret message.
S.
It read, subjudice.
D.
Below it was a sequence of letters,
S.
SDSS DSS.
But thank you. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, done. I did everything here now. What do I have now? The rollers? No, the rollers. Oh, yeah, I still have the rollers. Okay, you go back out. And then you can go to the next step. But before that, I will save. Wait. Alright, I'm back. I saved a bit. You don't need to see that when I save, eh?
There was no one.
Yeah, I was no one. Alright, just talk to her then.
Did you find anything useful?
This carving. Do you know anything about it?
It was Pierre's. What does the statue have to do with...
Please, I need to know.
He was given it by a friend. Something to do with Africa.
He never explained any more.
No. But I think it was important to him. Always on display. Why?
It was carved by my father.
Oh, I see. I didn't know.
Imelda, I will do everything I can to find the killer.
Thank you, my dear.
And if the police ask,
Don't worry. You were never here.
subjudice was the key. I was going to have to find a way under the conciergerie. I decided to head straight for the quayside on the Ile de la Cité. If there was a way of getting under the conciergerie, it would have to be from there.